You are almost asleep. Your body is heavy. Your thoughts are dissolving. The room is quiet. Your muscles are letting go. And then your entire body slams awake. Your heart is pounding. Your leg just kicked out like something grabbed it. You look around the room. Nothing is there. That just happened to up to 70% of every human being alive, according to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. And almost nobody knows what it is. It even has an official name. Doctors call it a hypnic jerk. Or, if you want to sound like you went to medical school at a dinner party, a hypnagogic myoclonic jerk. Roll that one off the tongue a few times. And here is what they don't tell you. Science does not fully know why it happens. The most popular explanation you've heard, the one about trees, has never actually been confirmed by a single published study. It became internet fact through pure repetition, which, honestly, is how most of the internet works. The actual reason is stranger, and it says something about your brain that you won't be able to stop thinking about. When you lie down and close your eyes, your brain doesn't switch off all at once. It goes through a transition. First comes the hypnagogic state, the window between being fully awake and entering stage 1 sleep. It typically lasts between 1 and 7 minutes, basically the shortest, strangest commute your brain takes every single day. During this transition, your brain waves shift from alpha waves, the relaxed wakefulness pattern, into theta waves, the signature of light sleep. Your muscles start receiving signals from the brainstem to relax. Your body begins letting go. And that's exactly when it happens. As the brainstem sends those relaxation signals to your muscles, something goes wrong. The signals misfire. Your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that regulates consciousness and keeps you alert, briefly gets confused during this transition. It's been running at full capacity all day, and in the moment it finally starts to power down, it fires one last unintended burst of motor activity. Think of it as your brain slamming the door on its way out. Your muscles contract, hard, all at once, involuntarily. At the same time, your brain, caught between sleep and waking, generates a brief sensory hallucination, a flash, a feeling, the unmistakable sensation of falling. But here is what researchers discovered that changes everything. The falling sensation doesn't cause the jerk. The jerk happens first. Your brain fabricates the falling sensation in milliseconds, after the muscle contraction has already fired, to explain what your body just did. You didn't dream you were falling and then wake up. Your body jolted, and your brain invented a story. In less time than it takes to blink, your brain is, somehow, both the crime and the alibi. Here's how far this goes. In the 1960s, neuroscientist Michael Gazzaniga studied patients who had undergone a rare surgery. The connection between the two halves of their brain had been completely severed. This let researchers do something extraordinary. They could show information to only one side of the brain at a time. In one experiment, they flashed the word walk to the right hemisphere only, the side that can't produce speech. The patient stood up and started walking. Then they asked him why. His left hemisphere, the half that does the talking, had no idea about the word walk. It never saw it. So it didn't say, "I don't know." It said, "I wanted to get a drink of water." A confident, detailed, completely fabricated explanation, invented in real time, delivered without a flicker of doubt. Gazzaniga called this part of the brain the interpreter. Its job isn't to know the truth. Its job is to make sure you always have a story. And it runs constantly, not just during split brain experiments, not just during sleep. Every decision you've ever explained, every because you've ever said out loud. Some of it is real reasoning. and some of it is your brain doing exactly what it did the moment you jerked awake last night, filling in a gap with whatever story sounds most believable. The hypnic jerk isn't a glitch. It's a glimpse of something your brain does to you constantly, and almost never gets caught. Now for the tree theory, because you've probably already heard it. A researcher at the University of Colorado, Frederick Coolidge, proposed that hypnic jerks are a vestigial reflex from our primate ancestors who slept in trees. The logic is clean. If you fall asleep in a tree and your muscles relax too much, you fall, you die. So over millions of years, the primates who had a built-in muscle check, a jerk that tested stability before full unconsciousness set in, survived longer, reproduced more. And that reflex, the theory says, is still installed in you. Every night when you jerk awake, you are running a safety check that was programmed into your nervous system before your ancestors came down from the trees. Here is what nobody mentions when they tell you this theory. It has no published supporting evidence, not one controlled study, not one peer-reviewed paper confirming it. It is a hypothesis that spread across the internet and became accepted as fact through repetition alone. The scientific equivalent of a rumor that got really, really good at networking. Which means the most satisfying explanation for one of the most universal human experiences might be completely wrong. Or it might be exactly right. Nobody knows. What science does know is what makes it worse. Caffeine blocks a chemical called adenosine, the signal your brain uses to feel sleepy. When adenosine is blocked, your reticular activating system stays activated even as your body tries to shut down. So that 4 p.m. coffee you thought you metabolized fine might be the reason you nearly kicked your partner out of bed at midnight. The two systems fighting for control of your brain become more evenly matched. The transition gets rougher. The misfires get more violent. Sleep deprivation makes it worse for the opposite reason. When you're exhausted, your brain rushes through the stages of falling asleep, too fast, too hard, and the transition becomes unstable. Stress keeps your fight or flight system at elevated baseline. Your brain is still scanning for threats when it should be surrendering to sleep. The result? The reticular activating system doesn't want to let go. And when it finally does, when it loses the nightly war against sleep, it doesn't go quietly. It fires one last signal. Your body jerks, and it's over. Every bad night you've ever had, every night you lay awake wired and couldn't sleep, your brain was fighting itself. Two systems, one trying to keep you alive and aware, one trying to shut you down. Most nights, sleep wins, but not before billing you for overtime. Ancient humans had none of this explanation. What they had was the experience. Every night as they drifted toward sleep, their body would suddenly slam back to consciousness, heart pounding, muscles contracted, eyes open in the dark, and around them, nothing. In medieval Europe, they called it the work of demons, a spirit striking the body to prevent sleep, to keep the soul from becoming vulnerable in the night. In some West African traditions, it was an ancestor warning you, a touch from the other side telling you to stay alert. In ancient Japan, it was connected to the same night-visiting spirits that cause sleep paralysis, something pressing on the body from outside. Every culture, no contact with each other, separated by oceans and centuries, all of them experiencing the same involuntary jerk at the edge of sleep. All of them building explanations. Demons, ancestors, spirits, and somehow nobody landed on maybe it's just a confused nerve cluster. Honestly, fair. That one's less poetic. None of them knowing that inside their skull, two competing systems were fighting a war that would end the same way every night, and that the falling they felt, that split-second terror of dropping through empty air, was invented by the same brain that was supposed to be shutting down. Here's what the research actually confirms. A 2016 study published in the journal Sleep Medicine, led by researchers studying the neurological roots of sleep-onset movements, found that hypnic jerks originate in the subcortical region of the brain, the area governing emotional, cognitive, and social functions. Not the rational brain, not the thinking brain, the emotional one. Which means the emergency signal that wakes you up is not a logical decision. It is a feeling. Your brain feels that you are falling before it has any information to confirm that, and it responds before it can check whether it's right, which, if a human did that at work, would get them written up. A separate study published in 2018 in Current Sleep Medicine Reports found that excessive hypnic jerks appear more frequently in patients with neurological conditions including Parkinson's disease and migraines, suggesting that the intensity of the nightly war between wakefulness and sleep reflects something deeper about how the brain is functioning overall. A hypnic jerk is not just a twitch. It is a readout of how hard your nervous system is fighting itself. Every night, in every person, for as long as humans have existed. Here is the number that stays with you. Up to 70% of people experience this, according to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. That means right now, tonight, the majority of humans alive will feel their bodies slam awake at the edge of sleep. Heart pounding, muscles contracted, staring at a ceiling that isn't moving. Some will think nothing of it. Some will lie awake after, unsettled without knowing why. And every single one of them will have experienced their brain deciding, for one uncontrollable fraction of a second, that they were dying. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, biologically, neurologically, with the full force of the oldest emergency system in your nervous system firing at once. For 300,000 years, humans fell asleep and were dragged back by that signal. They built demons to explain it. They built rituals to protect against it. They lay in the dark and felt something ancient and involuntary take hold of their body without permission. Tonight, you will probably feel it too. And no, drinking less coffee won't completely save you. It'll just make the ambush slightly less dramatic. And in the fraction of a second between the jerk and waking, before your prefrontal cortex comes back online and tells you it was nothing, some part of your brain will have genuinely believed it was the end. The tree theory might be wrong. The neuroscience is incomplete. But something in your nervous system every single night decides you are not safe yet. And nobody, not in any lab, not in any university, can tell you with certainty why.